It's great being a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah. I mean, listen, y'all are loyal, but the reason why we go to the negative is because y'all don't see it. Y'all just go, we got the best thing, we got a lockdown corner, we got
Look,
what we need, right?
I love how
You
you
don't
say
see that.
y'all.
Wait a minute, how
I
old is
love
this
how he
cat?
says
What
y'all
what
and hadn't even asked me how I feel about it.
well, okay, I'm talking about Dallas
Hughes is one of
Cowboys
them.
fans in general. You're right. I generalized right now. I did not
You
ask
people.
you. Let me
Yeah,
hear what you think. What do you think?
sounds pretty consistent with an issue that we've had for a long time. It's
But
didn't.
but I'm wrong. What is your take on this? What has
I
your
really don't.
conversation
I
been
don't
like
have
when it
one
comes to
honestly, man, because I didn't follow Stefan last year. Not really. Uh, I feel like his best games were against the Cowboys. you know, but I would agree that it seems like Jerry Jones has a knack for picking up quality people at the edge of their uh,
at their
tipping
boys'
over
men
the hill, tipping over
into
the
the
hill.
road?
Yeah, just like who's that linebacker that we've been trying to get for 5 years, and he ended up going to Seattle. Um, was it 45? I forgot his name. Muscular dude. Uh,
They're all muscular.
they're not all muscular.
I'm
Sorry, Lisa.
joking.
Sorry, we just came and talked about sports a little something. Good
What's
morning,
that guy's
everybody.
name? They were going to trade for him a couple
Welcome
years
to the
ago.
Brothers of Legacy. Appreciate you guys for being here. While Pastor remembers, he's digging in the crates of his brain. Good morning, Mama Corey. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us every day, just about Tuesday through Friday. So to my right, left is my brother, like no other, Mr. Thomas Cotton. I'll show you the picture later. So we've joked that Thomas looks like Pharrell, and if you're not seen the latest picture, I guess he was on a runway with a blanket. And my wife was like, tell Thomas stop, don't walk around looking like that. If you have not seen it, I might pull it out. But it's I don't it's a blanket. I don't know. It's I don't know what else you can call it. It's a blanket. So oh, what's that?
Bobby Wagner.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Just- he was trying to give you in the chat.
Oh, I missed that.
Trying to
Yeah.
help you out. Like I'm gonna let you say it like you know it. Trying to help you
No, I
out.
was looking it up.
I know.
Yeah. I couldn't remember his name. Bobby
Yeah.
Wagner.
Oh,
He's at the end of his road also.
Right.
But
Exactly.
he was good. Now let me just say this,
Yeah.
like in his
They
heyday.
wanted him 3 years ago.
Right.
yeah. See, so that was Pharrell.
Oh my goodness.
That is
To
a
show
blanket.
up in a blanket, huh?
That is a blanket. Yes. Yes, indeed. Um, so that I don't. Yeah, that's what's going on. As well as, have you guys heard about the man suing Buffalo Wild Wings?
Oh, for
Because
chicken tenders
none
instead
for
of
the
wings?
For
Buffalo,
the
yeah,
chicken
because
nuggets.
Chicken
yeah,
nuggets. I'm
well,
sorry.
because he was like, these are not boneless wings; these are chicken
Chicken
nuggets.
nuggets.
Oh
Did you
yeah,
see their response though?
What's the
Their
response?
response was hilarious. It's like, we sell hamburgers that have
Oh,
no
because
ham in it.
right, right, yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings started
We
cracking on
have
it, right, right.
we have buffalo wings that have 0%
Buffalo,
buffalo in them.
yes, yes, I see that, I see that, yes. So that's what's happening in the world today. Also a it seemed like a developing story about Michael Irving, uh, and the woman accusing him of misconduct, and then I guess him suing over defamation but pulling the lawsuit back. It's an interesting story. Um, Thomas said he did see the video. I didn't see there was a video of the hotel, and I was all trying to find it. But everybody likes they put it on their thumbnail, but then you got to hear a whole bunch of commentating before. And I was like, I didn't want to go through all that. I just want to see the video. Um, and it's just, and based on what you're saying, Thomas, it doesn't really prove anything or show anything of
I mean,
of
you could take it
substance.
one way or the other. I mean,
Right,
after he finished talking with the woman,
right.
you could see him kind of looking, This other fan comes up, and the security guard that's been around the whole time is right there, right? So Michael Irvin says something to this guy,
right,
and then goes off and takes a picture with him, right? This is another employee.
right.
But before he goes and takes a picture with them, he slaps himself 3 times, like, boy, you stupid, or,
Right. No audio, so you don't know what's
you
being
don't
said.
know. But why you slap yourself 3 times? Like, you don't, like, let me get my head out the clouds or whatever,
Right.
like there's no reason for him to do it. So, whatsoever, unless, and I would love to hear what the security guard and the employee that came up right after and what they have to say.
Right. Interesting. What's up, Richard? Good morning, sir.
This is such not news.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, this is America. Like we're sitting here contemplate $100 million lawsuit,
right,
over an exchange of words. Like I think he touched her elbow.
Yeah,
touched her elbow.
I mean, like this is national news.
Yeah, it is.
He was pulled from the Super Bowl,
right?
And I mean, we have we have people shouting equal rights, equal rights, equal rights. We can do just everything you can do, and all of that. And now this is the conversation we're having.
Right.
You've been offended by something that someone said to you. And I'm not trying to take anything away from behavior or anything like that. It's just that if you were not in that conversation,
right,
if you're only looking at the video,
right, yeah,
you see nothing.
Right.
And yet here we are. We're all wrapped up around this. This man has been pulled off TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. And I'm not insensitive to anything like that. That we're in America.
Yeah.
And we're in America where women are screaming for equal rights.
Right.
Right. Here's my question. If me and a woman are standing on the street and a man comes up and violates her, and I do nothing, I'm going to be in more trouble than the man who violated her.
For standing there?
For standing there doing nothing. If me and a woman are standing on the street and I get violated and she does nothing, I'm a punk because I didn't defend myself.
Interesting. Okay.
So interesting thing about that too, the video is she had every opportunity to walk away.
Right.
If it's uncomfortable, she had wide open, Right. There's a couple things about that, but one of the things that can be taken away from that is that if he wasn't worth what he was worth, will we be having this conversation?
No, we won't.
No, not at all. If it was me, no one would care.
No, I'm saying, like, would she even have considered?
Oh, I got what you're saying. Like, saying something or doing something.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. We could or we couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't.
Just like the interaction on that video.
Yeah,
he could or he couldn't.
Right.
The bottom line is that video proves nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We're gonna base this on what he said after she walked away.
Right.
Because no one knows what he said to her. We only have her word.
Right.
And I'm not calling her a liar or anything like that. I'm saying whatever happened in that exchange was between those two. Michael Irvin walked away, went about his business. She went about her business. They should continue walking away.
Just continue walking. Just keep walking.
So the big deal to me is there was no formal charges in this. This is an accusation, period.
Right. What would the charge be?
Right. There is no, sexual assault because he touched her elbow.
Okay.
Unwanted. I didn't ask for that.
Well, and listen, she walked up to him, didn't she?
Well, that's questionable also, but she sure went out of her way when she could have went a different way to get to that point.
The report is she went out of her way to come face to face with him.
Right.
That's the report. Now, that report could be anything. She just happened to be walking in that direction.
Right.
True indeed. True indeed.
But
my lawsuit would be you impeded my path of progress. I'm just saying, man. I mean, like this is where we are. I mean, his whole world has been turned upside down because of a 1 minute 47-second interaction. I know life can change in a split second. You're absolutely right, but I would really like to see something that justifies this being on the news.
Right.
Right.
I mean, seriously. Aside from the fact that he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver,
right,
and a commentator for ESPN, or a former commentator for
ESPN.
Well, he actually technically still employed by them, but
they just didn't let him come on the Super Bowl. Okay, but I mean that's still big though, because that's the biggest game.
It's a big waste of time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing is big is how much time we're wasting.
Right.
Like we're talking about it right now.
Right. That's why we're moving on. All right. So today's topic, we're talking about working through group of disagreements, how to overcome when there's a disagreement, get to a space either to agree to disagree, or when do you sever ties. Now, in the context of this conversation, I want to focus more on either like business wise or relationship, not like too personal, because sometimes personal can go back and forth. You try to find levels or ways to stay connected to somebody, but you may not, like we talked about trust before, but if there's a disagreement or a misunderstanding, like can you overcome or find ways to stay connected, or when do you sever ties, like business wise, or things don't go right, like me and you have a conversation, Pastor, and we talk about an investment or something and it goes bad. Because
conversation goes bad, or the investment goes bad?
The investment goes bad. And it's a I told you so moment, like I told you we should have done such and such. We just had to do it your way. Can we keep real? Because things, those conversations come up when the things go bad. But if it went good, you're like, I figured we made a good decision by going with what you said. You turn it back on yourself. But when things go bad, and we're in I won't say like an impasse, or maybe an impasse where there's a disagreement, we're trying to work it out, or can you work it out? Like, does it have to deteriorate? Like I've seen partnerships deteriorate. I've seen things not work, but then it's like, is it worth the breakup? We just had one deal go bad, and unfortunately, if it's the first one, it could leave a bad taste in your mouth. But is there ways to work things out, or can you just sever ties? Like making those judgment calls. That's I think the overarching conversation is making good judgment calls when it comes to building like business relationships. Have you guys experienced it? So let's talk about experience. Have you been in a space where you've had to sever ties based on business?
Sever ties with a personal contact, or professional contact, that's a business decision.
Yeah. And what did that look like? No, you never had to.
Not over a business decision. I think it's based on the type of relationship and the strength of the relationship that you have going in.
Okay.
It also depends on the severity of the failure, or the inability to make it happen. How bad is it? I mean, is this something that dissolves the organization? Is it something that, you know what I mean? Like we weigh the cost, because if we're business partners, it's a joint decision.
Yeah.
And we may have two opposing positions, but we agree to disagree, but we take the risk anyway.
Right.
And on the other side of that, I mean, if you agree to do it and it doesn't work, you were right, I was wrong. Okay, try it again next time.
Right.
I don't see, to me, there has to be some type of pattern of behavior or some type of personal conflict. You're not going to be successful in business without hiccups. Right. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a bad investment. Not every investment is a worthy investment.
Right.
Every investment is a risk. And so I think in a partnership, what's important is that you come together and agree on whatever the decision is. You put the pros out there, you put the cons out there, and then you make a decision.
Right.
And then you live with the decision. I
Right.
don't think a business decision drives the deterioration of a business partnership
Right.
unless there are other underlying factors on a personal level. Now, if I come to realize that, you know, we don't have a long extended personal relationship, we don't have a long extended business partnership, and we come together, and I realize that your business ethics or your approach or your vision for business is
Right.
inconsistent with mine, and we find that out later, then
Right.
yeah, that could be justification for going down another path. Hey, I thought we were, I thought we had synergy, but it doesn't
Right.
seem like we think alike. And
Yeah.
even, I'm not saying I want someone who thinks like me, but the way you think.
It's a little opposing the way I think.
Yeah,
Dang. Yeah.
yeah.
Little way
I
too.
just think it has to be there has to be deeper factors that come into play to dissolve a
Right.
business relationship because of because something went wrong.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. That was good. What about you, Thomas? Like getting into relationships and business partnerships that you feel like that don't work out, or you hit an impasse of trying to figure out which way to go.
Yeah. I think sometimes we got to learn how to keep business and personal separate. A lot of times we don't know how to do that because there's money involved. When
Right.
money becomes involved, if you're doing business with someone, it becomes a more emotional process because
Right.
what you're doing is, whenever you put your money out there, I work for this money. I'm going to put my money out there. I expect my money to be able to work the right way.
Right.
But everybody doesn't have the same work ethic. So if
Mm.
there comes a point where two people realize we're adults here, this just ain't going to work, then you
Right.
can let the business go without letting the person go.
Right.
But there's sometimes where, people are shady
Right.
sometimes, and you see the shadiness around money. And so
Right.
when you see the money come out and the things that people are willing to say regarding, you know, the business and making it personal,
Right.
that's where a lot of times where, you realize it's not just the business. There's something wrong with there was actually something I missed about this person.
Right.
And when we start thinking about,
The money is involved. Right.
the aspect of someone doing you wrong over some money,
Right.
like I thought we were better than this. I thought, I wanted to bet business with you because I thought we were good enough to handle these kinds of things.
Right
But
there, though.
we're
I
not.
thought you were better than this.
Right.
I thought you were better than this.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the
Right.
same time, that's what they're saying about you because again,
Right.
what my work ethic is, I may think in my mind I have the greatest work ethic.
Yeah.
And I go into business, so when they realize that I don't,
Right.
you're not really as good
Right.
of a,
I don't work
you're
on
not
Saturdays and Sundays, brother.
right.
That's my Sabbath. I take 2 Sabbath
Exactly.
days.
And so
Right.
I can see it both ways, but
Right.
some
Right.
people, their expectations need to be set first. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things I learned in the
Ooh.
past is
Expectation.
setting
Right.
expectations up front
Right.
so that you know what the outcome is that you're going to get, and then finding people that really have a good character because like you said earlier, things aren't always going to go your way in business. And you
Right.
got to be willing to say, you know what? The business is I'm willing to go into it with you, but at a certain point, if we can talk through this, we can
Right.
work through this. That's how
Right.
businesses develop,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then a lot of times we try to go and into business and do things the way we think they should be done without communication. And that's
Right.
a hard part when it comes to business if you have business partners. For me, the last 12 years, 13 years now, I've been working with the board, and through a nonprofit organization, it's a totally different business aspect of it.
Right.
When I founded this nonprofit organization, it's a little different than when you found a regular business.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I establish a board for this organization, the business is no longer mine.
Right.
It's
Right.
ours.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't own the business. I don't.
Right.
This whole board, even though I established this business, the moment they come on board,
Yeah.
if they were in cahoots, they could be like, "You're fired. You're out."
Right. Right.
Right. And so you gotta now adjust the way you think about business because now you're working with people who have control. And so the will of the board is what you're doing. You know,
Right.
hopefully we're still on mission, because the mission should drive the organization toward the vision that we set.
Yeah.
And so you're not really dealing with money at that time. You're dealing with people's time, because they're investing their time into the mission and the vision of the organization.
Right.
And as they invest their time, their money, their efforts into this organization, they want to see a return on their investment.
Right.
And if they're not getting that ROI from their, you know, their time, their effort, and everything else, there can be conflict right there. Or if they see that there's a way that we should be functioning as a board, and this is the kind of work we should be doing, there can be a conflict. And so, you know, the conflicts can be big, or they can just be unfulfilling.
Right. Okay.
So if you're not fulfilled in this organization, then there has to be a transition.
Gotcha.
And
So what? So when you say like unfulfilled, like kind of like I expected more kind of thing, my expectations were not totally aligned. You know, with what we, I guess, discussed.
Yeah. So so we can discuss it.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it. We can even put it on paper.
Right.
But it still does not. Sometimes your expectations or your vision don't align with what is even there, like the interpretation of what that looks like.
Right.
And so when you're interpreting the work and what needs to be done, this, you know, you have to be able to keep everybody on board and keep them abreast. But here's the thing, communication is key also, because, like, for example, I'm the person out in the forefront doing all the work. If someone wants something different to take place, they have to communicate with me. And so like my board right now is communicating with me. Listen, you need to tell more stories about yourself. You need to tell about why you do the work that you do. I don't like talking about myself that much. I know it may not seem like that because I'm on a microphone right now, right? But the reality is I don't. You know, if we're having conversations, regular conversations, I'll talk about it all day long. But to just get out there solo on a camera and just be like, hey, CEO here, you know, it's not my thing. But the reality is the will of the board is saying, do this. Therefore, I'll do. Right. But we're communicating why. We're talking through it. And they're giving me the grace. They've been asking me this for years. Now I'm just finally getting out, you know, putting it out there.
Right.
So there's communication that could take place. That's my point.
Yeah.
There's other times where where communication doesn't take place and dissatisfaction does. I'm not satisfied here. I don't want to be here. And it doesn't feel like my time, effort, and money is being spent well with this organization.
Right.
And so, you know, when you get to that point, you just have to say, you know what? Thank you. You know, it's time to move on. And it's no hard feelings. There's no ill will. People can make it about ill will. And they do. But all right. So
kind of like
the board members.
So I'm laughing because yes, we have one of my board members is on.
We responded positively to Tom.
Yes, they did.
So yes, we had that told you so moment.
They are 100% right. Listen, and that's the thing, when you communicate and you do the will of the board, you would hope that it's this reciprocal kind of thing where I get to understand better, and they understand, like, we're pushing you in the right way. When you're doing what the board asks and you're not getting the outcomes that you expect, that's where a challenge can happen, because it's like the outcomes that we're looking, the return on investment is not there. I looked up and saw the dog in space.
The dog's in space.
He wanted to get in on the conversation.
Right. He's on the microphone too.
He's listening like I'm waiting for my chance to respond.
Well, go ahead. Mike's yours.
Oh, there you go. Let's go. We're going viral with that dog talk. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Well, I've been listening for a long time, guys. I have some things to share. So Richard says interpretation is tricky, just like interpreting the scripture. Let's see. Richard, that's a good question though, Rich. He said, if you had a contact at the FBI or CIA, would you use them to do very deep due diligence? Would you use them? If you could just call them up, provide a social. Hey, I need you to look this guy up. Make sure.
I mean, like, what kind of due diligence would you be willing to do? Because I mean, you technically can do a background check on anybody.
Right.
If you're willing to pay the money,
right,
you can get an FBI background check on anybody.
Right.
But what does the background check really say? Right. You look at my background check.
Right.
Everybody will run.
Oh, wait a minute.
Like, I can show you a copy if you want me. I'm just kidding. No, I could, but I'm not going to. But if you were to read it, you would be like,
"Is this you, Thomas, in the paper?"
Hey, I tell people I preached the message probably 8-9 years ago. I said, "Yeah, if you Google me, yep, it was me. I did it."
Right. Now, look, if you look at my background check, you'd be like, no. You look at my credit score, you might be like, okay.
Yeah, you look at my credit score. Look, today it'd be okay.
Today it would, yeah. Some years ago, you might be like,
He said, "Come on, look at your jobs." What's the word on the street, Cooper? Yeah, he said his head is giant.
Word on the street is my daughter has gone back to college.
Nice.
So now he's my friend again.
Right. Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely that's good. The interpretation, the expectations, those conversations really, they make a difference in building great relationships as far as business wise goes. But how do you establish expectations in the middle of a transaction, or is it too late?
In the middle of a transaction?
In the middle of a transaction.
And again, it depends on,
because there's the things that you expected or thought about. Because when he said that expectation or what I thought was gonna be was not. I just because there's assumptions. Because I made assumptions like I so assumed. Because I let me tell you something. I signed up for like an MLM, and they didn't trick me. I signed paperwork. I just had assumptions, and I was like, oh, you don't compensate that way. I didn't pay attention to that. And it changed the relationship. I was like, yeah, I gotta get out of this because this is not.
But that's not on them. That's not on the organization.
Right. That's on me.
You said, yeah, I made assumptions.
I made assumptions.
I didn't check. I didn't do my due diligence.
Yes.
A lot of times, and I shared this. I think I shared this yesterday. When you're trying to get to the next level,
right,
and you're struggling to get there,
right,
educate yourself.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't educate ourselves before we step into these transactions, before we conduct this business.
True.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That's what the scripture says.
Right.
And so ignorance does kill. Ignorance destroys. Ignorance breaks down. Ignorance deteriorates. It does all of those things. But that's what the job of ignorance is.
Right.
Right. And so what's important is that we dot our I's and cross our T's. We have to do our due diligence. And when we fall short on due diligence, a lot of times we fall short on expected outcomes.
Right.
And so and you can't, but the thing is, it's not fair to ruin a relationship or point the finger because you didn't do your due diligence. See, to me, that's not the breakdown of the relationship. That's a fault on the part of an individual for not seeking more information.
Right.
And that, when you bring up MLM, that what's the one thing people go into business for? To make money.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the business side of it, or are you looking at the money side of it?
Right.
Because it is a business. There is, it's going to take effort.
Right.
If someone comes and tells you in 15 hours a week, you can do 15 hours worth of work a week and live your wildest dreams.
Right.
And you believe it.
Right. Depending on what I'm doing.
Fool?
Right. And well, here's the thing.
them?
Yeah, here's the thing. What type of work?
Right.
15 hours
Right.
doing what? And here's when it comes to multi-level marketing, the first thing is how broad is your ecosystem? What does your network look like?
Right.
If you don't have a network,
Right.
the smaller your network, the more challenging MLM programs can be for you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
If you don't like rejection, don't join an MLM
Right.
program.
Right.
Or if you don't even understand the structure, don't join it.
Right.
And if you don't
can
have
have the
people
greatest
skills,
work ethic, huh?
if you don't have people skills, the reality is with MLMs, the greatest asset that you have is yourself.
Yeah.
Because typically you're selling something that there's a broad market for anyway.
Right.
So people are buying you more than they're buying anything else. They're buying into an infrastructure
True.
of prosperity, not the product, because the stuff that you get in most cases through MLM is stuff that you can go find at your local department store, or Sam's or whatever the case.
There's always a competition for it. Yeah, indeed.
Right. But you also got to have a team of people who have the same work ethic as you, because your downline in an MLM matters. You're going to have people who can work, who can do the same thing and duplicate what you do.
Right.
But if
that goes back to the value of your ecosystem, the value of your network. You put with a bunch of people sitting around watching, the TV all day, and those are all your friends, or they're playing video games all day.
Right.
And you expect them to get up and go do something else. Hey, let's go make some money, man. We finally got this opportunity. Oh, yeah, okay.
15 hours is all I need. Give me 15 hours.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Right. Jeff said, he said, that's not how I did it. I was going from home working till late night hours many times. Indeed.
But you also were in the automotive industry selling cars, weren't you, Jeff?
Right.
So you're a salesman anyway.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, I've seen people become wildly successful in MLMs, right? But the thing is, you got to get past all the hype. If you're going to be in it, you're going to be in it. You got to be able to. You can't go to this hype meeting and feel good. I'm gonna pay my little money here, and I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna smack it up, and do all this other stuff.
I beg to differ. I think I agree with that. You can't get caught. I think you actually have to. I think you have to become the hype.
Right.
Right. I feel what you're saying.
That's a good point.
You got to take the meeting to you so you can come.
Right.
Brian, I got this thing going on, man. It's going to blow your mind.
I mean, it's the energy. It's your personality. That's what pushes your network. Your level of motivation should spark motivation, trigger motivation in someone else. If you're lacking in those areas, charisma.
Right. Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Say it without saying it.
Yes.
But when it comes to this business stuff, and when it comes to relationships in general, there are certain expectations. And again, I'm just coming back to expectations, because everyone has these expectations when they walk into stuff.
Yes.
And then as you set your expectations, you set your entitlements also. Now, if what you value the most is going to be right up front, if you value something, if you value relationship more than you value the money, then your expectations and your entitlements will be different. Okay. And it's about the relationships. I trust you. One of the things I will say is my board constantly says this: they trust me.
Right. They
trust what we're doing here. They trust me in this space. Not just in every space, but in this particular space, right? Of course, I have better relationships with them outside of our, the work that we do. We have relationships still outside of this. We have different conversations. We have all these other things.
Right.
And so, but they trust me in this space. And so, that kind of carries it a long way, because their expectations are tempered when they see that, hey, you're doing the best you can do. We understand when this is where we're at. These are the things that we're growing to, and we will see we will see the outcome that we're looking at, but it's going to take us some time to get there, because this is not the typical way people go about getting to a certain place.
Yeah.
Right. So when we start to see that the relational aspect matters also, that it tempers your expectations. It tempers a lot of different other things. But when you're just in, if someone is right now having a financial difficulty,
Right.
and that financial difficulty is in the forefront of their mind,
Right.
and then they drop the last that they have in this little business endeavor that you talked
That's
about.
right. It's got to make it happen. Thomas,
Got to make it happen. The
Counting on you,
urgency and the expectations
Yeah.
are different
Yeah.
because the situation is different. It's not about the
Yeah.
relationship at that point. It's
Yeah.
about my situation.
Right.
And so, one of the things I've learned is I don't go into business unless I'm willing to lose it.
Right.
Like if whatever I put into a business, I'm willing to lose whatever I put into it because I'm not trying to lose other things. There's more things, what do I value? And so, investing in the stock market right now is a business decision right now because it's volatile. Anything can pop up any day. Today banks are losing their shirts, right?
Right.
We're heading toward another recession. You jump in the stock market right now, expect that you might lose something.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing with business. If you're going to jump into a business, things change.
Yeah.
It's not like things will always be the same.
True.
What was making money, 5 years ago in real estate right now, it's not going to even be the same return on investment. So, you got to count the cost. That's why that's in everything. Count the cost.
Yeah, count the cost. Definitely. That counting of costs. He said, Jeff says that's true, Thomas. If you've got a relationship over money, things will have a tendency to go better. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that's for people who do ugly things sometimes. Indeed. I think that's the toughest part of being at certain levels of investment. Because it's hard. Like some people can put 1,000 in and say, okay, boom, I could let it sit for 6 months to a year, and then some like, I need this thing to flip within a month because I'm gonna need that back. Like I need to see progress or something,
Right.
and I think having those understandings and knowing the whole, seeing the whole picture, and like you said, getting past the hype meeting, because when you hear something, oh man, that sounds great, we gotta
Listen.
You gotta count up the cost and know the risk. Know the risk. Go ahead.
The market has, I sum the market up in two ways, two sides.
Okay.
Total return, emerging market.
Right.
To your point that you just made, AD. If I'm young,
right,
total returns are great. I have a whole lot of time, hopefully, to yield a harvest.
Right.
Emerging markets are those that are willing to take more risk. Right. And at the same time, I can be young and target the emerging market because I have time to recover. Hopefully, so you look at it from that perspective. Someone who's older doesn't really have the time for total return. 2% year over year, 4% year over year.
Right.
You want a big hit. You want something that's a bit more risky. Big investment, big win. Was it win big, lose big? So if you are a person, to your point, going into a business deal, business transaction, looking for long-term gain, and you're partnering with someone who has short-term gain in their mindset, there's going to be conflict.
Yeah, there is.
Right?
There is.
Which means if you're the person looking for long-term gain, you want less risk.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to ask more questions.
Right.
It's really just that simple. And now if I convince you that this more risky opportunity is worthy of an investment and it fails, you can make a decision. Listen, I am not in it for short term. If that's all you're focused on, we can't be partners.
Right.
It's real. I mean, these are just things. These are, again, it goes back to something that I was going to say something sarcastic and then lost my train of thought.
That was Jesus right there. Like, don't say that. Don't say that.
I was gonna come back at Thomas.
Oh, let me stop that.
But Thomas alluded to communication,
Right.
you know, earlier on.
Okay.
Communication is key. Having those tough conversations is key.
Right.
You know, if you can't handle confrontation, you won't make it in business partnerships.
Right.
Right. You have to recognize that. Even the Bible says, "Know them that labor among you."
Right.
You know, I have to know who you are. I have to understand your personality. I have to have, and you said it earlier, Thomas, we have to set expectations. You know, what are the expected outcomes of this business relationship? So once we set expectations, we have to be consistent with the agreement that we've established with one another.
Right.
And so there could be a pattern of behavior trending in the wrong direction. You check in, that kind of stuff. All those things can happen. But if they don't happen, you wake up one day, something goes awry, something goes sideways, and you haven't had the communication, then emotions get involved.
True.
You know, so there's so many things that can go right, so many things that can go wrong, but all of it is a matter of setting expectations and effective communication.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens, right, when you set expectations, and sometimes expectations can change, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
And so when is it that you feel like expectations has changed outside the parameter of our agreement and we need to sever ties?
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with severing business ties at a certain point when expectations change.
Right.
You know, you just have to follow. The one thing is you should have a written agreement that stipulates all this.
Right.
That you don't go into business just on GP like, you know, I'm gonna handshake you this way we're
Right.
going in business. There's things written.
Right.
A long time ago, I learned if it's not written, it's not said. You know,
Right.
so you got to write it down. You got to set, you know, once the business relationship is set, then you write things down because
Duly
you don't want
noted.
people coming back
Don't trust
later on.
Thomas' words if he didn't write them down.
So, you know, that's important to really see how you're going to move forward and everything else. And the other thing is before you even go into that business relationship, check where you're getting your information from.
Yes.
Because are you just listening or are you doing your due diligence on your own?
Right.
Think about this. Some years ago, 10 years ago or so, there was this thing called Bitcoin. You know, there's kind of coming on the scene, right? But for me, I got all my information about Bitcoin from the streets, from the news, from everybody else.
Right.
I never went and checked into it myself.
Right.
Had I checked into Bitcoin some years ago and just put $1,000 on it.
Right.
Right now, I'd have lots of Bitcoin. Right. I've been coined up.
Right.
But because I listened to other people, I never checked the sources myself.
Right.
And that's important to be able to understand. Like, we got to check when it comes to business, be willing to put the work in to do your due diligence before you enter an agreement with somebody. Be willing to check how much time do you have to put into this business.
No doubt.
Be willing to check how much time they've put into this business.
No doubt.
And then also, you know, do your due diligence on your competition. Is there competition? Is there even a market for what you're doing? You know, because you can go in and you set expectations based upon what you think, and there's really no market for whatever you're talking about. So up front, there is work that has to be put in that you will not get paid for.
Right.
And if you're not willing to put the work in that you don't get paid for, then whatever ROI you get, return on investment, that's it.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what you put the amount of effort in. That's what you got.
Right. That's good. Random spoons. So yeah, definitely finding the right market, having the right partnerships. I think that the agreement, the character, you know, because let's keep it 100. Some people will do like just sign this, just say that this thing does this when it don't do that, so we can get this extra money. You know, like just sign this paperwork. Let's just do it this way so we can get that extra money. You know, and I guess it's that moral standard as well. You know, people just, hey, we just fudge it a little bit till we can get to where we need to be. And it's those connections, you know, because some people have that hard hustle mentality where I get it any way possible. I'll fudge whatever numbers, lie to whoever we need to lie to. This ain't got to be forever. We just got to get this loan. So just fudge them numbers. say we got what we got, and let's move forward. So like they're all those connections. I think those character flaws are the things we need to be mindful of as well. If we don't agree, because you might agree, like, yeah, let's fudge the numbers. It's only one time. It's only one time. So we're gonna get ready to get out of here. He said, "Oh, okay, no problem."
Something like that happened in the early 2000s, didn't it?
Yeah, just fudge him a little bit.
Can you say
but,
.com?
Listen. I feel like let me. They talk about Ponzi schemes, right? And how if y'all don't know what a Ponzi scheme, basically people are putting money into an investment and getting money back because of new people putting money in, and they're just pretty much tricking people like into thinking
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right, basically. But I feel like this is my honest opinion that some investments survived doing many Ponzi schemes, if that makes sense. So let me explain. Like people that have not had significant loss, got money in so they can keep their investors and keep paying them until they can get right. Hey, help me out till I can get whole. And I felt like they may not have lied to the depth of Madoff, but I feel like the Ponzi has happened to legit. Well, I'm gonna throw the air quotes, legit companies as well that are still here. And they may be earning money legit, now because they got whole. But I think a lot of I don't think the whole Madoff Ponzi has been just relegated to the criminals that we know. Jeff says one good thing is if you have a good business that's providing a great income, you never want to risk killing the goose that laid the egg by being dishonest. That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Keep that in mind. All right. So listen, we appreciate you guys for being here, rocking with us another edition of Brothers of Legacy. I wanted to, I'll talk to McCory about it later. So appreciate you guys for being here, rocking with us another edition of Brothers of Legacy. Thank you guys for all that you do. Thank you for sharing. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for Freestyle Friday. You already know it's going to be off the chain, like always, because you never know what we're going to talk about, plus dad jokes. And so make sure you let somebody know about the Brothers of Legacy. Share the text or share the broadcast to one person, just one person, so that we can increase our reach and change the world from here. All right. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Stay safe. Make good decisions. It's like my closing music right there. So look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Stay safe. 988, you or someone you love is having a mental health crisis. He said Thomas Cotton. He said, yeah, greed can destroy a good thing. Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Know that we love you. Jesus loves you more. And we'll see you in the AM. All right. Peace out. If I can find my thing. Bam.